Yes, you know what that gong means. We here, we ready to play. Welcome everybody to Mind Sports by WeDeepen. So let's get a little bit of this to get started. Let me see that you're here. If you can hear me, raise the roof. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I hope you're all feeling pretty good. Personally, I'm feeling out of this world, you get it? Out of this world, the Earth's rotation just really makes my day, guys. What can I say? So welcome. I hope you guys all had your Wheaties today or took your nootropics. I myself have been working my pineal gland all day getting ready for this. We have a really special event tonight, guys. Kind of one of the first of its kind. So welcome. You guys are all part of this. My name is Adam Dorsey. Some of you probably know me. Let me get a look at some of you guys. I see Ardea here. Woo! Just one of the best. Look at all these beautiful human beings. Hi, Lauren. Hi, Alyssa. What's up, Michael? Michael, can you hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up. Michael, you got me? All right. Cool. Taylor, how you doing? Gloria, good? Some new faces to me. Mr. Fishman, nice to see you. Jup, thanks for being here. Jay, Maya, Paul. Paul, you're new to me. I've never seen you before. Nice to meet you, Paul. Kayla, hello, Kayla. How are you doing? Can I get a little whoop whoop from you, Kayla? Yes. Okay, great. So tonight, I'm going to be serving as your moderator, which basically means I'll be jumping in the chat. And so since this is like an interactive environment, we want everybody to be part of this. And what that means for you guys is stay active. Like if you have questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, anything that pops up for you throughout the process, put it in there. And there'll be a point in time where I will select a couple of those questions and we'll send them over to the guys and females here who are in this particular debate. The kind of setup for this whole thing, I'm going to pull it up for y'all, is we'll have the whole thing go through. Charles will be here with us, and then afterwards we're going to be doing this is kind of cool, a like virtual after party in a Kumu room, which is new to me, which is like an interactive space where you can go in and like directly interact with people. So take advantage of that because there's some really awesome people on this call. So I highly recommend afterwards, like linking up, chatting, talking, because what we really want to do out of events like this is open ourselves up to new perspectives. That's the best thing that we can do. Also, if you see my name down the corner, I have my name and then my Instagram tag. If you can go ahead and add your Instagram, if you have it, if you're into the social medias, please do. Also, this is going to be live on Facebook. I believe you all had to say that you agree to that. So it will be recorded, and then it will be going on to YouTube later on. So share it as it's happening. Get people involved. If there's, if there's somebody in your house, you want to grab them and get them involved in here. The more people, honestly, the better, because the more interactive this is, the better it's going to be for all. And I think that's all that I have to cover. So please stay active in the chat, but also one caveat to that, please listen. This is an opportunity for us. If we're coming in without our preconceived ideas, our preconceived notions, it's an opportunity for us to learn. And so stay open, stay active, but listen. Last little bit, this is brand new to us. So if there are any weird technical difficulties, please bear with us. We're doing the best we can. And just know that not everybody can rock an astronaut outfit. But I feel like I can rock it. Get it? Rock it. Also, you got to laugh at my jokes. I see some of you out there laughing at my jokes. I'm going to need you all to laugh at my jokes. But don't worry, I'll overcome it.
That was good.
You're welcome. Okay, and so I'm gonna blast off over to my friend, my dear friend. I've known. We really want to make this. These conversations grow more and more and our community grow more and more. And one of my favorite people that I've met in my Los Angeles community is Indy Rishi Singh. He is our host. He's a neuroplastician, a laughter meditation. Yeah. Indy and I have hosted several retreats together.
Did you say idiot and I or Indy? Huh?
So this is where I send it off to him, my dear friend, your host, and the man, the myth, the legend, Indy Rishi Singh.
What's up, brother? Thank you so much, Adam. Oh my God, man, you made me blush so much. My nose fell off. That's how much you made me blush, bro. Thanks for holding it down, man. And we're gonna let's keep this flow. Actually, in fact, I got something to throw at you, bro. I got a yo mama joke for you. That's economic yo mama joke. You ready?
Oh, that's the best. Go ahead.
Yo mama defies the laws of economics. You know why?
Why?
Because she's got plenty of supply, but there's absolutely no demand. and I think in the comments, I shared a joke in there as well. I said, what grade did the socialists get from economics? Did anybody comment there? Do you know, Adam, what that is?
No, I don't. What?
Top marks, baby.
All right, hey, I got one for you. Okay, what is when a socialist teacher has a problem with his students, what is it called?
What's it called?
Class struggle.
I love it, dude. So you guys get the feeling, all right? We're gonna have fun with this. We're gonna make jokes. We're gonna have fun with each other, okay? That's a part of this. And for me, as a neuroplastician, the universe's first neuroplastician, I'm all about using laughter, right? Laughter is such a wonderful way for us to make a point. Actually, when we laugh, we actually are on the same brainwave links. Literally, we actually match brainwave links when we laugh. So in fact, you want to get a point across, you laugh with another person, that point will get across much better than if we are serious or stern, okay? So let's have fun. Let's all joke a little bit, laugh a little bit. Let's be a little bit silly, but let's also get some great points across too in that whole flow, okay? My perspective on this, I'm really excited to be able to share this space about this matter. I really care about economics, but the crazy thing about economics is it's a freaking interesting theory, right? It's not even a science. It's something not really sciencey, but it is it's a really interesting. I'll bring up some more jokes about that. It's really funny, but we got to think about these things. It's really important. Where did our resources go? Who's deciding what happens to all our stuff? If we work really hard, what happens to that? Oh my gosh, there's so much going on. We should think about these things. It's really, really, really important. To me, it doesn't matter what we choose, but we should at least be understanding of what's going on, right? That's part of what this discussion is about, to dissolve these misunderstandings, to dissolve the ignorance and create some enlightenment with all of us. So that's the point of this, and let's have fun in that whole experience. There's an amazing structure. We're kind of going to use Oxford style debate with a little bit of twist and turns here and there. We got Charles jumping in, so he's going to be inputting some cool stuff. So we're kind of adding a special guest kind of into it as well. Everybody's going to get a chance to talk, and then we're going to bring in question and answer from you guys later on too. So think about ideas of what questions you want to ask. If somebody asks a question that you're already going to do, maybe you got to re-synthesize something else. So that's all good to go. I'm really excited about this experience. Moreover than anything, let's have fun with this, okay, guys? And before I start going in, let's bring up some agreements, okay? So I'm gonna share my screen really quick. So the contestants out there, I see some of you. I'm gonna need you guys to I'm gonna need you guys to do some gang signs, but they're mudra signs, right? So I like to do instead of gang signs, we have mudra signs, right? Yogi signs. So the first one is the 1. So everybody put up your number 1, right? And you're gonna agree for a mindset of kindness, okay? Right, mindset of kindness. You got it? Cool, we're all good with that? Good. All right, the next one is 2, or you can do this 2 or this 2, all right? So it's your peace sign or I come in peace, okay? It depends on what you want to do. And it's everyone practices the art of listening. Cool, we got that? Everyone, right? Jay, I don't see you, dude. Where's your, there it, yeah, all right, you have your variation, all right? Everyone practices the art of listening. And the third one, the most important, and sometimes just as important, everything else is 3. You can do the 3, like a 3-pointer 3, or the mudra 3, or whatever you want. 3, we got that. Yeah, we got the west side 3, okay? Don't take yourself serious, all right? Have fun. Let's have fun through this experience, right? Sometimes we take ourselves seriously, our shit gets totally whacked, right? Let's have fun, let's enjoy ourselves, and the point will come across way better when we do. Cool, everybody's good? We're solid on that? Yes. All right, I'm gonna stop this share, bring you guys back to the space. Well, let's see, here we go. Let's rock and roll. I want to throw up another thing. So here and there, I might ask questions, or when we bring up question and answers, the contestants, the debaters on here, you might have to raise your hand. So I think Let's see if you guys know how to raise your hands. Like, do you know how to like do that, like pump, the fist pump or the raised hands? You know? All right, cool. And then to let us know, or you can do it on the chat, which lets us know too, right? So like that's that you want to answer the question. All right, cool. So really quick, capitalism versus socialism. I just want to quickly bring it up. I don't want to take anybody's time in this space too, because you guys might define it in your own ways. But I feel what's important before we even get into this talk is how important it is to understand that there's capitalism and socialism and these different economic theories are ways for us to figure out how to allocate resources, right? Capital, whenever there's like capital, what happens with that? When there's resources, what happens with that, right? When there's profit, what happens with that? What happens in our society? And like, how do we make sure that people go to school? How do they make sure they get medicine? How do they make sure that we have good public health? How do we make sure all these different things? So are the roads we drive on, everything, our military, there's so many different elements that are combining capitalism and socialism. So our conversation today will break those things down. I'm looking forward to everybody presenting their perspectives on it. And also, I'm going to be throwing in my stuff in there too, but I'm trying not to like manipulate any of you guys and manipulate into the sides. But maybe I will manipulate. All right, awesome. So let's get this thing bad boy started. I think let's, I mean, I feel like it might be kind of smart for us to give like start off with my fellow beard man right here, you know, like I gotta respect the beard. So if somebody's got a beard, you gotta go first, you know. I gotta say, what we got a two, we got a piece. Christina, you got something to say?
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Oh, 2 minutes each. Yes.
Clock ready to go.
Yes. Okay. We got the mind clock. Whoa. Okay. Mind the mind clock. All right. So we got a timer. Jup, you ready for the timer? You ready to go? So when you start, she'll start the timer. So Jup, by the way, just to introduce you guys, he works in the management for a securities firm. He's a pilot. He's like a quintessential capitalist, but he's got a lot of other cool perspectives and backgrounds. So I'm sure he'll share in this 2 minutes. Bro, it's all you.
Okay, so I'm going to debate the affirmative for capitalism. I'm going to start with a preface. All economic theories are constantly being proven, disproven. So there's not an exact science, right? Capitalism is the economic and political systems in which the country, trades, and industry are controlled by private owners for profit rather than for the state. So a little bit of context, it was written by Adam Smith. He wrote The Wealth of Nations, which is pretty much the precursor to economics as a whole. So when we look at this stuff, like the lens through which we look at it is through the lens of capitalism, for good or bad. The central characteristics of capitalism: private property and the recognition of property rights, capital accumulation, because capital is the primary means of production, wage labor, a voluntary exchange between wage and service, and a price system and competitive markets. So in a capitalist market economy, again, if you look at the 1700s, it's a very different world than what we're looking at right now, right? And just a quick caveat to Adam Smith, he was against free capital movements. He thought that free trade would hinder investment in England, and a lot of these people will invest abroad. He thought division of labor could be monstrous, meaning that potentially slavery, child labor, these were used to increase profits. He also warned about the collusive nature of business interests, so like cabals and monopolies, who would fix high prices. And lastly, he worried about a business-dominated political system which would allow conspiracy between business and industry against the consumers. So this was like a prevalent thing, but he did believe in free markets, and he thought that if the government did not hand out special favors, that the free markets would work. Okay, I think that's my time. I have more to add. 2 minutes is quick. I apologize. So yeah.
No, dude, no apologies. You only say sorry if you're wearing a sorry, bro. If you're wearing a sorry, you could say sorry, okay? But no sorries other than that, okay? All right, cool. So thank you, Jup. Excellent. Now we're going to switch over to the socialism side, all right? The socialism side, we're going to actually go to Jay Ponte. And Jay Ponte, he's actually a senior advisor for the Shahid Buttar campaign, who's running against Nancy Pelosi. Hello, wake up, everybody. So I recommend checking that campaign out. And he's also the founder of the Be the Revolution campaign and project, right? So Jay, you've got 2 minutes. It's all you, bro.
All right, thanks for having us. And yeah, I'm not here as much to advocate for socialism as to discuss the reality that these words have meanings. And so often these words like capitalism, communism, Marxism, they're thrown around, they're conflated. The distinctions were very rarely understood, especially by people who oppose those systems. So I'm not specifically arguing for the implementation, but really just to agree that certain words have meaning. Like Jupp gave us a definition of capitalism, and within socialism is a very vague concept. Socialism, communism, there are many subsets within that. Broadly speaking, it means a society that where the means of production and distribution and exchange are owned by the community as a whole, as opposed to private individuals. Now, there are all sorts of sub-distinctions within that, but I also want to discuss this. It's important because it's just become a term of abuse, where we've been corralled into echo chambers by social media, by corporate media. And I appreciate this platform because it gives us a chance to actually talk face to face and discuss what are the meanings of those words, like how have they been implemented historically? Because we see a lot of fallacies and false narratives being promulgated by people with specific interests and agendas. So, and for me, I think this is so important because literally with the COVID crisis, with the impending climate apocalypse, we're being right until it kills us. We're suffering from terminal rightness. And it is important that we separate the truth from the belief, the facts from our narratives. And that it has to be our true north to create a moral society.
Yeah, Jay, thank you so much. And hold that thought right there. It might give you a moment to kind of finish your thoughts in a second. So we're going to switch over. Thank you, Jay. We're going to switch over to Rachel Sachs. She actually was a last-second replacement for Henry Putnam Briffle, and she's good friends with him. She's a venture capitalist. She used to work at Dow Jones, so she's got some really deep perspective in that industry. And so, Rachel, you got your 2 minutes whenever you're ready to go. Are you ready? I think you're ready, Christina?
Yes, I'm ready. I guess
All right.
that I do. That's what I can say. All that kind of thing of seeing behind the curtain, you kind of realize you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. You go and see behind those boardrooms, you realize all of it kind of chalks up to kind of nothing. So I went to art school. I studied poetry. I thought I was going to be a professor. That didn't work out for me. I ended up getting graduate, go to grad school, getting a master's degree. You pay for that, you pay for that. But honestly, here's the thing. Capitalism gives you the opportunity to fail. That's the beauty of that. And through privilege and everything that I've had, I've been able to see what socialist countries do look like. I've been to Cuba. You go to Cuba. You go to this one store. These are your choices. You have one opportunity, every single thing. Competition doesn't exist. If one product is a piece of shit, you don't get that option to make it better. These are things. You're assigned your job. You can't make more than a certain amount of money, no matter how hard you work, for your entire life. And the problem is everyone ends up hoarding everything all the time. Exactly. What does happen with no competition? I'm seeing this pop up. Who the hell knows? No one's kept on their toes. There's no actual impetus to improve anything without competition. There's nothing without aggression. There's nothing without any motivation. There's nothing if you pretty much know that you can't do anything to improve your situation, you end up going to illegal kind of loophole situations. And I'm all for that personally. I don't mind a loophole here and there. Here's the thing. Morality ends up being a very gray spectrum. Both of these things, both of the terms, capitalism and socialism, are very, very spectrumy in a way. There's very I'm not an extremist in any way. I don't believe in extremism in either format. Both of them in their most extreme form are horrible for everybody, to be honest. And there's good and there's bad to each one. And I think that's kind of what this conversation is meant to kind of facilitate, is that there's good and bad in each one. That you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. People I went to school with, they decided by their choice to make $30,000 working in a little clear publishing house, and you don't move up, you don't do anything, and everyone's still an asshole at the top. So you might as well be an asshole too. No one says I want to be a venture socialist when they grow up.
I'm gonna start using that. I'm a venture socialist. Good one. Awesome. Thank you, Rachel. Let's go to now we're back on the socialism side. We'll finish it up with Shai Fishman. He's an entrepreneur. He's also a community leader. He's a lot of other things, wears many hats. Shai, you ready to go, buddy?
I'm right here, brother.
All right, let's get your 2 minutes. Let's rock and roll, buddy.
All right, so I have a bit of a confession. I'm a capitalist. Thanks to a free market economy, I was able to start my own business at the age of 19, and I went on to hire over 10,000 people. So I've lived the dream. Why would I, of all people, take any position that's against capitalism? Am I advocating for failed state examples of corrupt socialism where the very few elites in government control the masses and hoard wealth and favor for themselves? I'm not. I posit that the promise of capitalism, the so-called American dream, is more of an American nightmare for many. So this pandemic, right, is shining a bright light on the fact that our current crony capitalistic system is in fact a house of cards. Even before COVID, our current free market system had obscene income inequality, with nearly 80% of American workers reporting that they live paycheck to paycheck, all while the top 1% now own more wealth than the bottom 80%. Let that sink in. So when you add a national healthcare crisis like COVID, you see an explosion of what is so terribly possible when 4 out of 5 American families have been living on the edge of survival. Don't you think it's obscene that tens of millions of Americans are now facing evictions and food shortages in what is supposedly the most powerful country in the world? So the reason I've taken the position of socialism this evening is because I actually believe in democratic socialism, which incorporates the proper and vital balance of ethical free markets with more socialistic elements. Social democrats are mainly concerned with practical reforms within capitalism. I don't think it's asking too much to go after basic reforms like a living minimum wage, food security, access to healthcare, and decent free public education through college. All that is working fine in other countries where there's this healthy blend of capitalism and socialism. The forces of the current capitalistic system are simply not interested in such reforms because those reforms would impact their bottom lines. To me, this is the fatal flaw of the unchecked and unfettered capitalistic system as we see it today. It will always put profit.
Awesome. Hold that thought, Shai. Thank you so much. And we decided that we would give 1 minute because the people who started might want to add a couple of things before we switch over to Charles. Jup, do you have an option? Do you want a minute to make any comments based on what Shai or Rachel or Jay have shared?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to highlight how much I appreciate this conversation and the, focus on nuance. One thing I do kind of want to add is are we going to keep this a US centric conversation, or is this like more like international? Because I would argue, even like in the words of Martin Luther King, right? Like we have like rampant socialism for the rich, and then we got, brutal capitalism for the poor. So I think that there's certain, I would say, pros and cons of doing both. If we want to keep this US centric, I'm okay with that too. Kind of just broader in terms of theory, political and economic, I'm okay with that too.
So Jup, let's switch out over Jay. Jay, what do you feel about that? Especially because you're involved in an election and a cycle. Should we focus on the U.S. or should we focus on the world?
Well, for me, I don't tend to focus on ideology so much as addressing what is the root of our problem. What cuts to the root of our problem, and I think Jup just nailed it. We have socialism for the rich. We're seeing $6 trillion bailout free and clear. And for the working man and poor and working people, we get nothing. And we're supposed to pick ourselves up by our bootstraps. It's quite sad. And meanwhile, you have a clear corporate agenda on both sides. We know that people like Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell, they work together. Nancy Pelosi is one of the biggest Trump enablers. So those of us in these populist movements are recognizing that there are people-centered governance that is looking at a plutocracy, a small handful of elite who are getting enormous amounts of money from special interests to rig the game, rig the tax codes. You think it's there's F-35s in the COVID, bailout. It's absurd. And meanwhile, we stay divided, we stay distracted, we stay corralled in our echo chambers, and it becomes a snake that eats its own tail. And again, I find a lot of these, I get frustrated when we we're talking about American system of government, and then for some reason Cuba or Venezuela is brought up. To me, I have a hard time getting the thread because they're such different societies, and I don't know how you can possibly get a basis for comparison. But yeah, I also appreciate the nuance. I think it's so important. I think we agree on a lot more than we think we do.
So then I'll take it there. I'll say that let's focus on the U.S. And if we bring up any other countries, let's use it as a focus back on a spotlight back on the U.S. Like utilizing it as a framework for that. And with that being said too, like I was just thinking when you guys were talking about, I'm like, oh yeah, but you know what? You said socialism for the rich. I mean, what? But I'm gonna start teaching people how to. Adam, do you remember this? We're gonna start a thing, but we're gonna help people get rich by them giving us money to help them get rich. Do you remember that business that we're gonna start?
Yeah. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Help me. Help you. Help me make money.
No, but I'm gonna help you make the money though. But you gotta give me money. So I can show you how to make money, right? Don't forget, like make sure we have this program going on. So make sure you send us $600 a month and we'll show you how to get rich. All right. Like no problem. We got you guys. But that being said, it's really interesting. I think your guys' perspective is really powerful. I think this conversation can get even more potent. Christina, how are we with Mr. Charles Eisenstein? Is he around? The one and only?
He has not arrived yet. I just sent him an email. So everyone knows Charles is navigating some family challenges right now in the moment. He's definitely coming on and joining us this evening. He just is running a little bit late as
And let's make sure we send him that link. I think we had an updated link, right? So awesome, you got it. And so we'll take a pivot there. And in fact, let's even take a moment to honor all the people out there. Like let's all take a moment before we continue. Like all the people that are dealing with any sort of illness, any sort of situations, like not just from COVID, but I feel for the people out there who are experiencing any sort of medical condition because they're all kind of alienated right now in the hospitals, even if you're not experiencing COVID. So let's all just take a moment of silence and send a prayer of love, of hope. That everybody has an opportunity to overcome whatever's supposed to happen happens, but we also find ways to take care of each other better, that community health and public health improves, and that we all can nurture each other in that space. It's taking a moment, having gratitude and love, and maybe sharing a little bit of, hopefulness in this time, for people's well-being, or even if they're supposed to move on, that space for that being a healthy process. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you. All right. So let's keep this ball rolling. So really quick, Adam, how are we doing with the chat? What's popping up in there? Is there anything?
First of all, I'm loving this so far. Everybody is really kind of getting involved. And what I like is everyone seems to be listening and adding in their own little bits here. I like what Frank said, that cooperation is the principal alternative to the zero-sum game of competition, and it's every bit as necessary for survival as competition, and possibly more so. There's a PBS documentary he mentions on the behavior of swarms that explains how flocks of birds on the savannas not only cooperate to evade prey, but also to allow individual members to feed at watering holes while birds of prey are distracted.
I think I just read about that morphological intelligence or something like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome, bro. And I feel we have that. I feel there's there's an experiment done with marbles, in a classroom. I think it is a popular economist or something where people have to the whole group figures out how many marbles are in a jar, or I think marbles or jelly beans. Oh, it's a jelly bean one. Jelly beans, and the whole group, the average of the group figures it out better than individual guesses, which is what's going on there? Oh my God. And guess what? We got Charles up in here. Charles, are you here? Hello? Charles, checking in. Roger. Tuning in. Yeah, Adam, I think that's a really good point. I'm all about co-intelligence. There's something going on when we all come together. Even this space right here, us talking and communicating, is such a powerful, what we can come come up with here in this space is so powerful than if we do it all separately, you know? And maybe there is something, oh no, not yet. We can't hear you yet. Maybe, but yeah, like there's something going on with that. There's something really powerful, you know, when we work together and we actually honor each other's intelligence. You feel me, Adam?
Absolutely. And while I'm here, I want to add one more joke. What do my girlfriend and ethical capitalism have in common?
What?
They don't exist.
Hey, Charles, you there? So I got a joke for you, Adam. I get ready.
Yeah.
So it's not even a joke, it's a story. So there's three economists, and they're in the forest. They're hunting a deer, right? There's this wild deer. They're like, we got to catch this. So one of the economists shoots the deer and he misses way to the left, right? And it's like, oh, damn, you know? And then the other economist comes around, he shoots and he like misses the deer way to the right, right? And the third one comes and he's like, oh, I hit it. And like, they're like, what? You didn't even shoot it? He's like, yeah, I hit it. And they all cheered and got really happy because, you know, they hit the deer. But he didn't shoot anything. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Can you guys hear me now?
Oh yeah, we can hear you now.
All right, great. I had to use a different microphone, but I'm glad it works.
Yeah, cool. So you're like the voice in the sky right now.
and my video should work if you guys. I think you might have
see.
turned it on your end.
There we go. We see your name. Charles, by the way, did you get the joke that I said with the deer? Did that make sense?
I was fumbling with my microphone, so no, I didn't hear it.
It was so should I say it again? Adam?
No, Indy, it's okay. I don't think anyone got it.
Oh man.
Well, now I'm fumbling with my camera. Why isn't that working? Hold on.
It's it might have been made in a capitalistic. Might have been a socialist microphone.
Well, listen, I can get you a new microphone, but it's going to be $69.99.
That's very capitalistic of you, Adam.
Yeah, you know that's what I'm here for.
Like,
hey, I'm an equal opportunist with my jokes. All right.
Are you saying you're communist with your jokes?
No, I'm an equal opportunist, but you can't tell some jokes. You can't tell all socialist jokes because everyone has to get it, huh?
Hey, Charles, at the bottom of your screen in Zoom, it says start video.
Yeah, I keep clicking that, but nothing happens.
We can improvise with this. It's okay. No worries.
I don't know what's going on here. Okay.
If you want, I could pull up a picture from online and we can cut a hole in the mouth and just, you know.
Yeah, that's a good idea. My computer's not detecting my. Oh, just give me another minute. Let me try to figure it out.
Sure.
In fact, actually, you know what? It's better for me to listen to you guys for a little bit anyway, so I have something to say.
Okay.
So I don't have to just pontificate out into nothing.
What, man? I'm all about pontificating about nothing.
I do it every day.
All right, no worries. That sounds good. Let's, Adam. Can we do we want to take a question?
Yeah, we have a great question from Frank. Let me pull it up real quick. Frank asks, I like this. Hold on one second. Does fierce competition affect homelessness?
Ooh. Who wants to take that?
Why isn't my camera working?
I'll add just like one
kind of caveat. I might have just plugged in the wrong thing or something.
I'll just add one caveat, right? Like, maybe it's just me, but like when we joke about socialism and Marxism and stuff, I think oftentimes what ends up happening is this leads to kind of the vilification of certain words, right? So like when we talk about socialistic policies, oftentimes, in some parts of the country, that's seen as like, there's like a misrepresentation of what it actually is, right? So I think, just if it's okay, I kind of do want to talk about just like the historical elements that go behind this, right? So like, like oftentimes we hear like Marxist socialism, and like Bernie Sanders got vilified as being a Marxist. there's a huge difference between what the Marxist countries like Cuba and others are doing versus like the brand of socialism that I apologize, the last presenter was talking about, like the Bernie Sanders brand of socialism, right? Where there are free markets, there is private property and capital, but there's just like a progressive tax rate. So like you end up paying more if you are wealthier, like there's a scale in which that happens. And then we redistribute that fund through, like the revenue that we earned, and we redistribute it into programs, right? These programs, like for example, could be the U.S. defense budget, whether that's, discretionary defense. It could be other things like education, public housing. Also could be subsidies that like help planting, right? So like if there's a huge subsidy for soybeans, there's going to be a lot more farmers planting soybeans, right? And I think kind of if we have an opportunity, I would think it's really great to discuss the nuance, especially like when we're thinking about election season coming up, kind of what we prioritize, how we prioritize it, and yeah, like I mean socialism is a boogeyman term, but also so is like greedy capitalism and stuff like that. So that was from
and you're welcome, Jeb. You can always throw the conversation to somebody else. So if you want to, pose or throw, this is an opportunity for you to throw the question to somebody, or throw an idea.
I think for the socialist team, I think it would be really great to kind of hear about like what policies you would use tax revenue for, right? Like right now we do invest a lot in the military, but what are other alternatives that we could see, and like how that would benefit society versus other benefits?
Jay, Shai, who wants to take it?
Sure, I could speak to that. There's a lot to unpack there. I think the first thing to understand is there's a difference. I think there's a conflation between the millionaires and the billionaires. If you knew the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire, like just what is it, like a million seconds is a week, a billion seconds is like 33 years. Like the amount of wealth that is concentrated at the top 0.01%, it's more than you can conceive of. It's more that you can't even conceive of it. And so I think there's a lot of conflation that happens, and people think, oh, well, I don't want that because maybe I'll be a billionaire or a millionaire someday, and I don't want to give away my money. Well, actually, in the time of Eisenhower, the marginal tax rate at the top was 91%. And that was arguably when we had the strongest economy in our nation's history, the strongest middle class. And the theory behind it is that if you're getting taxed at that rate, you have to invest it into workers. You have to invest it into infrastructure instead of siphoning it out of the economy into offshore accounts like we saw in the Paradise Papers and in the Panama Papers. And they're siphoning the money out of the economy. And in terms of answering the policy, there is plenty of money. It's also like there's plenty of money when we want to go to war. No one questions it. No one questions when we want to drop 26,000. But the specific policies, I would say broadly, is the healthcare that is enjoyed in every other industrial nation, education. For me, I believe public banking is a great solution. Housing is a human right, health is a human right, education is a human right. And
Shai, do you want to take a stab at that?
Yeah, I'll just dovetail on that. Socialized healthcare. I mean, that's a real big one. I can't understand for the life of me how a basic human need like healthcare is a for-profit system. You've got a system that's egregiously making executives in the medical and pharmaceutical and insurance industries rich, and we shouldn't have profit in healthcare. It's already been proven in other countries that we can do this without profits, and we can do it better. So I just wanted to just touch on that. I can pass it back to Joe.
I mean, I think that's great. And I think one thing I would just like pose to you guys, right? Like the airlines, for example, they, the last couple of decade, pretty much, they've been using their stock options to kind of buy back, do all the stock buybacks and stuff, prop up stock value. Now, you know, they went bankrupt or whatever, you know, the demand tanked. Now the government has to bail them out, right? Marx argued that there would be a point in capitalism where like there would be a nationalization of certain industries, and that would be kind of the beginning of the end of capitalism. Not that it would be replaced, but rather it would like self-destruct, crumble in on itself, right? I think my question to you guys would be, for healthcare, for example, if there are government grants going into you know, developing drugs versus if there are industries that are failing, right? Like that are too big to fail, those get nationalized, right? And I mean, that should be kind of just like, there's no other investor who's willing to take over, but now the state is acting like an entity, right? Like, he at least would be the hybrid approach. And I mean, to Jay's point, right? If we stop bombing brown people, we'd have hella money to do hella things, like, you know, but, yeah, so I think back to you, or you know, if
Rachel, what do you what are your thoughts on this, and what's your percent
on everyone's kind of situation? I mean, it's not gonna really make me look great on my side, but honestly, New York. I live in New York City. And they've dropped the ball on everything with housing. I actually took a lot of courses in college, did some work with NYCHA, that kind of thing. They haven't done real zoning for new Section 8 housing since 2008. That's how that's working here, which is a huge problem. That's a massive issue for actual like affordability. You're saying about homeless. Absolutely, New York. That I am impressed that there's that many people who find housing. It's a privilege only kind of situation. New York is the most capitalist city in the world, I would say, maybe other than San Francisco. I would say in actual terms of housing, affordability, can you actually do that? I think San Francisco has a little bit more in place, I would say, than New York City, but in that way as well. And then healthcare, someone who actually deals with a lot of investments in that kind of situation, the healthcare industry, the FDA trials and the government, like the amount of money that it takes to actually get a drug to market, that's what screws it up and then makes it a for-profit industry. Like there's things that are sitting on that are just all over the place, things that could cure cancer, things that could do stuff with one blood test. That type of thing takes so much money and so much FDA trials and so many other things. And it's while everything, thinking about COVID, which is more of an immediate need, that's what happens with it. So no way to really do this right is the problem. And that's screwed up at this point. Because every step of it is a total nightmare in terms of money.
So I got a question for you guys. I'm going to pose a question to you guys. And anybody can take this. What economic system does America run on? Like what?
Bullshit.
That runs on bullshit.
It's a smash and grab job. You know, the political economic system is a combination of oligarchy and vulture capitalism. You have people like, and again, to that point, who's paying the R&D money? American taxpayers are. So these companies are lobbying. You know, pharma, the health insurance industry pays the highest amount of dollars in lobbying. They pay politicians. Do yourself a favor, Google represent.us, and there's a couple of videos they have on income inequality and your government does not work for you. And it shows that for the top 1%, they get their needs met by their lawmakers almost 100% of the time, 80% of the time. For everybody else, there is no direct correlation between how popular a plan is. Like just in the Democratic base, Medicare for All has about an 85% approval rate, and it just got voted down by 75% of the Democratic platform delegates. There is no meaningful correlation between how popular a policy is or how effective it is and its implementation. So, I mean, what do you do with that?
How do you fix it? How do you fix that?
I mean, I would say very simply, with respect to the medical system, you reduce it to a single payer. That means that there's only one end payer. You're cutting out a lot of the costs that when it comes to administration. There's only one payer. There's no one else to negotiate prices with. There's one customer, which is the U.S. government. And that system has been used very effectively in other countries. Whereas you're not going to get someone like Martin Shkreli jacking up vital AIDS medication up 800%, taking it from $20 a pill to $800 a pill. Not going to happen.
I mean, the hospital fees are insane. I had this debate with my boyfriend yesterday about this. He donated blood today. And it's like, we were trying to debate to ourselves, or like, because you hear all these stories about in the hospital what it costs for someone getting Advil or something. It's like, I've heard some things, it's like $200 for like 2 Advil pills. It's like absurd. So we were trying to, can anyone find this? That's actually, I should have Googled it. I meant to Google this. We were trying to have a debate of like what we think the cost of that exact bag of blood is for the hospital, like this price of the blood bank selling it to the hospital, and then the hospital selling it and having like the insurance company handle it, and then the actual bill for the person receiving it in a transfusion. So you were trying to think of like how insane that is, number one, of how many steps that is for actually getting it to the person, and how many other people are paid out for that type of situation, which is the most bizarre nonsense. My guess was that the person paid $1,500, but I think that was probably not per individual baggie of blood. So probably something like $300 a bag is my guesstimation. Someone Google it, see if it's right. I have no idea. If anyone knows that kind of situation of what it actually costs to receive blood, which is just insane for all these kind of things, country, like, and what health insurance costs for anybody in general. Like, what I have to pay $800 a month in health insurance. It's the worst. But I looked into other plans, which are the cheaper plans, the $400 one. You have to meet a deductible. That's $10,000 plus, and it's like the medications I take. It's like, okay, well, that's insane. Why would I do that? Because I'd be paying effectively, what, like $2,000 a month? It's absurd. It's fucked.
I'll add one point to that. Yeah, I agree. Well, I'll add one point to this. Jay, you and I live in San Francisco, right?
I'm in LA.
Oh shoot! Okay, my bad. I just assumed.
The candidate's in San Francisco in CD12. Yeah.
Okay, no respect. All right, never mind. So I live in San Francisco. But we have like the same place as BART. Now, if you've ever ridden on BART, it takes $7 to go from one end to the other, and like if you're going to go to the airport, it takes like 16 or something like that. And then like there's the occasional person who's like taking a deuce on your morning commute, right? And like at the same time, private industry, we have, cars that are driving themselves, and that company came out of nowhere. That didn't have the, lobbying effort that, the Ford and the General Motors had. Private industry does, like, it does create a lot of substance, right? It creates a lot of value. And competition itself creates a lot of value. I understand with certain situations like healthcare, like, okay, like I hear you, right? Like, you know what I mean?
Stop. It's like, I would say maybe the hybrid solution for both, maybe the basic human rights situation of healthcare. I think the roof over your head thing is. I really, really find that to be Maslow's hierarchy of needs, kind of old school psychology class in high school situation. What are the basic ones at the bottom for people? And then we can talk about the added fun other stuff. And then we can start competition and making money off of it. That's a huge.
Awesome, guys. So okay, put a pin in it. Put a pin in this conversation, and let's take a break. You guys can get some some water or coffee, whatever you need, and let's pop on. Charles, are you here, Charles? Charles.
Unmute. Okay. Yeah, I'm here. Can you see me and hear me?
Yeah. Oh wow, look at that tapestry behind you. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you. I could comment on it, but you can see the 3 goddesses there.
Nice, nice narrative, nice storytelling right behind you.
Yeah.
Speaking of narrative, please share your thoughts. The mic is yours. What are your thoughts on this topic? And yeah, where are you at now?
Well, I could maybe offer just a few general thoughts. What came to my mind as I listened was a quote by the economist John Kenneth Galbraith, who said, "Capitalism is the system in which man exploits man. In socialism, it's just the reverse." And, joking aside, like, see, if this were like an actual live event, everyone would be guffawing. I'd be like, yeah, I'm on a roll.
You'll laugh.
But, now I'm like, I didn't hear anybody laughing. Okay, was that pretty stupid?
You know how I feel.
but joking aside, what he was pointing to is that maybe the question of exploitation, or the question of which system is better than the other one, it's maybe not actually the right question, because we've seen historically that both capitalist and socialist systems, or at least those that have described themselves that way, have produced pretty much the same, maybe slightly different versions of, but pretty much the same social and economic patterns. So we had in the Soviet Union and in other socialist countries, officially the proletariat owned the means of production. But what is it actually to own something? Who actually makes the decisions and who benefits from those decisions? Well, it wasn't necessarily the proletariat that made and benefited from those decisions. It was a managerial class. And how different is that from our current managerial class, which, whether or not it nominally owns corporations and therefore the means of production, it's still a matter of who is actually controlling how property is used, how capital is used, how collective decisions about how to deploy human creativity and labor are made. Like, these are the deeper questions, and they're not unrelated to the question of capital and therefore of capitalism, but they really beg the question, what is capital to begin with? Because we realize, it doesn't take a lot of meditation to understand that capital is an agreement or a system of agreements and their accompanying symbols and laws and customs and culture all around those agreements. It's a big complex. I'm going to call it an agreement or a story even, that says who has what rights to do what with what. So even in the most capitalistic system, you don't have absolute rights to do anything you want with your property. This is even true to some extent today, and it was a lot more true in, say, the early 20th century, where even if you were very, very wealthy, that did not give you absolute rights to do anything you wanted with your property, because there was social pressure. There were unwritten agreements. And going back historically, if you were wealthy, you could only stay that way with a certain amount of support from a community. And in order to maintain that support, you had to fulfill the duties of a rich person, say, to at least do something for the community. So how different is that from what we would like to call socialism? So I guess what I would like to interject into the conversation is first to take it a level deeper and ask, what does capitalism become when we change our agreements about what capital is, what property is, what money is? And secondly, maybe to look at some of the deeper patterning that underlies the capitalism and the socialism that we are familiar with. And then another thing, just to throw another thing into the mix, and I apologize for going on, hopefully not too long, but another thing to throw in there is what is this conversation actually about? Is it right now, that you're having? Is it about, if we could start from scratch, what ideal system would we implement? Or is it what philosophy, what understanding of human nature, what understanding of justice, what understanding of how human beings behave could inform the next step from where we are right now? And when you talk about that, it's is any next step even feasible in a political system that is so frozen and seemingly at least so helpless to make to do anything but be carried along by momentum, which is a very different situation than, and you didn't tell me how long I'm supposed to talk, so You know,
You can keep going. You can keep going.
okay. It's a very different situation than we had, say, in the 1950s and 1960s. We, meaning I'm talking mostly about the United States now, but the West to some extent, where we could do anything. You know, yeah, we're going to build an interstate highway system. Yeah, we're going to send a man to the moon. Like there was a tremendous sense of limitless capability that prevailed during those times. And there was no question that we could afford anything that we wanted to do, that we had the power to create the world. And now we don't feel that way. And it's not because, you know, and this is another question: where has our paralysis come from? Where has the stuckness of our politics come from? And why does it seem, anyway?
Charles, really quick. Jay he raised his hand. He has a comment based on the question you asked, I assume. So Jay, do you want to?
Absolutely. I think this is really juicy stuff, because ultimately, you know, there is. I do think that there's also an imperfect assumption that, oh, we'll just bring in democratic socialism, even though Bernie Sanders is a social democrat. He's not a democratic socialist. But whatever system you're trying to instill, it is going to be filtered through the aggregate sum of individuals and the cultures and the paradigm that are going to run it, right? So, you know, if we don't address like some of the endemic problems that exist at the level of the individual, at the level of the family, at the level of the community, you know, how are you possibly going to put together a just system, an equitable system, when white supremacy is still rampant paradigm? It's not. It's an inside job. It's part of our conditioning. It's part of our assumptions. You know, if you talk about whatever colonialism, consumerism, you know, rampant consumerism, it is based on the conditioning that you are not a leader. You have no power. Your job is to consume. That is directly a function of a capitalist society, because fundamentally, when you produce too much, you have to increase the demand. The only way we increase demand is, what's the number one way we increase demand? Is through advertising, which tells you you aren't enough, and I need this thing to fix me, right? And it's filtered through our entire political system. You have no power. Your job is to, okay, at the best, just to show up and vote, right? Democracy means demos of the people, right? It's not just showing up once every 4 years, you know, to vote. That's just another type of consumerism. People approach political candidates not as tactics, not as a way to organize, not as a way to bring together, not as a way to lead from vision, but this is like my favorite brand. You know, oh, I don't like this person. I like this person instead. It's like they're my favorite brand of kombucha or whatever. When it comes down to it, there's never been a time in human history where one person had more power. Every one of you have probably 500 to 5,000 followers on social media. And so I just, you know, I agree with Charles on so much of this, we have to start with some of those fundamental questions. I couldn't agree with him more.
And Charles, do you want to make any comment based on that?
Yeah, I can just say a little bit. Our condition has a lot deeper roots than is pleasant to think about. Well, I'll just say, you know, that's the thought that came to mind when, gosh, what was his name? I just missed it. The guy who just talked.
Jay,
yes, Jay, when he talked about the creation of needs through advertising. And I think that, you know, advertising simply leverages what is actually a set of profound unmet needs that are unmet in not just a capitalist society, but unmet in any society where large-scale impersonal means of production have supplanted place-based community relations. Because when we become disconnected, whether through markets or through state state administered production. When we become disconnected from the people and the place around us, alienated from nature, no longer in relationship to the animals and plants and places and water and everything around us and the people, and no longer embedded in a web of social relationships and stories that tell us who we are and that are sustained over time, whereby we form a strong identity through relationship. When that's all been wiped away, either through capitalism or through any kind of state socialism, then we have a crying unmet need for relationship, for belonging, for connection, for the feeling of being at home in the world, basically for a kind of security. And that craving for belonging and for connection and for security drives endless consumption. And so you can see how advertising plays upon those unmet needs and promises to meet them. But even without advertising, I mean, you could really almost see advertising as a symptom of our condition. That's why it's so effective. Even when you know, under colonialism, when we develop, quote unquote, develop the rest of the world, the images of modern luxury and success accompany the breakdown of the local societies. So it's leveraging that void. Basically, you take something away, which is community, self-sufficiency, et cetera, and then you sell it back again. And so this, you know, capitalism is certainly a part of this conversion of relationship into money, but it has other deep roots in our civilization as well. That would take me a very long time to really go through, but and so instead of doing that, I'll just point to, I guess, like this, maybe an image of us all, whether we're on the capitalist side or the socialist side, standing at the brink of a void, of a mystery, of an inquiry that will demolish our established categories. And so I would just invite us to step into that mystery with humility.
I'm gonna take this opportunity to throw in there and give a little bump to a course that Charles is presenting right now. It's a 10-day course. Right now, it's available on One Commune. It's called Political Hope. So even what he's talking about, he's kind of taking us through a whole journey. So if you want to check that out, definitely sign up for it. It's an amazing program. I've been checking it out the past few days. Charles, excellent everything so far. And I like the questions that I've been posing in the community, very relevant to what we're talking about now. And political hope is something really interesting. It's kind of not non-divisive. It's kind of talking about this story and the narrative and diving into the unknown together. So maybe we could pop that up into the chat if you want to check that link out. And if you guys want to sign up, Political Hope is what it's called as well, if you want to Google it. And with that also, I want to kind of throw this question to the capitalist side. You know, I think we had, you know, Jay kind of pontificated, you know, his perspective on what's going on, but I want to throw this at either Jupp or Rachel, one of you guys. What would be, from your perspective, from the capitalist perspective, what would be the ideal? Like, if you could dive into the mystery of where this narrative goes, where the U.S. narrative goes for economic, what would be your ideal perspective with a capitalist lens? And maybe we drop the lens, I don't know, but from what your understanding is. Either one of you guys, Rachel, it would be great to hear from you, or Jupp, whatever.
I'll roll with it. Basically, I mean, everyone's been like, what I've said, these like basics about human needs. I think basic human needs are very universal, right? I think the UN has defined them as certain parameters. Having clean water is number one. That's the thing. That's not even a given in a lot of our countries. If you read like Hillbilly Elegy, it's not a freaking given to have like actual straight up running water all the time, even still in this country, which is insane. So things like, even for that base level, having some type of roof over your head, basic food. You're paying taxes out the ass anyways, make it count. I feel like every job I've had, even when I made 50,000, I made 40,000, I make 30% taxes anyways. Please make it count. And your job is so just, it can be anything, it can be anywhere at any point, especially with COVID. Everyone's finally realized this, that you are not as important as you think you are to your job all the time. So all of a sudden it's you. It's like, I feel like it's like when you're really Jewish, you get raised all this kind of, it's like this like weird, this old tale, this guy haranguing this guy on the street and being like, who was homeless or something, and all of a sudden this guy's homeless now. The guy was doing the same thing. It's like you could be that any day. That kind of thing. It's a kind of mentality that really keeps it. You have to, I think, if you're doing capitalism right, is fluoride equals strong teeth. I mean, that's true. It's true. They did that in the 90s. What can I say? But honestly, just basic human rights being covered, not having it being this horrible match for basically like pharmaceuticals. And if people they want to like create a healthy competition, there should be kind of the option that you have toll roads and you have basic roads. You can pay and you can elect to take the faster toll road if you want to, but you could also take the main highway. Something in that's kind of a hybrid model there. For pretty much most things, have the basic levels covered, but then also have the ability for people are going to try and be better than everyone else anyways, but you don't want people to suffer for that kind of situation.
I'm definitely not waiting in line at Great America anymore or Disneyland. I'm taking the fasting. I'm riding those. I'm not waiting in line. No way. Jup, do you want to take a perspective on that?
Yeah, I'm gonna add something to the conversation. So like, I think one of the things that, again, like I kind of want to stay away from earlier, but I don't necessarily think consumerism is directly linked to capitalism. I think even in socialist countries, you see strongman leaders. You know, you kind of see that sort of a gravitation towards power. That's something separate. I think in terms of when we're looking at like political economic systems, you know, like I think one of the things that we hear in the public kind of discourse is like the Scandinavian countries, right? So if you're looking at like Norway versus the USA, right, which I think somebody pointed out earlier, but we're like a capitalistic-ish 3/5 compromise democratic system, right? So we have remnants of, you know, slaveholders who came up with the system to concentrate wealth, right? Like that is predicated into kind of how our economic system was built. I think one thing that I mean, again, like the USA is not an ideal example of capitalism, right? I think it's also safe to say that there are things that we can reprioritize, right? We can reprioritize healthcare versus another thing. But I think at the root, what I would argue is capitalism in a way helps societies improve in terms of, I'm gonna talk through this, I apologize, I'm just gonna finish my thought, but it helps societies improve through competition, right? If we kind of, and maybe the point of the argument is that we need a healthy middle ground. Like in Norway, for example, they pay a lower effective tax rate than I do in California, right? Like our like state taxes, or sorry, like highest corporate tax rate is almost 40% in the US versus like a 24% in Norway. And then you also have like income tax where, you know, it's still super high in Norway where it's like almost 40%, but in the US it's only like 1% or 2 lower. And then on California, we have to pay state taxes as well. And in San Francisco, in San Francisco, we pay a ton of taxes and we still have potholes where in Norway, you know, they have snow a half the year and, you know, they figure out their road situation. So what is it? There's no direct correlation between tax revenue and social benefit. What does that sort of look like to you guys? And how do we build that system?
So hold that thought. Let's bring in some of the people from the chat. Adam, are you there? Adam?
I am, yes, I am here.
And so we got some people asking questions. We got Charles here as well. Maybe we could throw Charles if people want to pose a question. Charles, the two sides. Anybody can, you know, take a shot at these questions.
Really, first of all, just let me say thank you to everybody in the chat. There's some really great questions being popped up there. It's hard to choose from. But I'm going to throw it over to Michael because he got in there early. And Michael, I'd offer you to unmute yourself. And if you'd like to ask your question, please go ahead. Are you muted?
It came up a couple.
Oh, go ahead now.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
We can. Oh, yeah.
And this may sound super insensitive, and it's not really my intent, but I've heard a couple times that people say healthcare is a right, and housing is a human right, and housing is a human right. And I'm wondering, where does that come from? Maybe that's question number one. And I guess that would be to the socialists, perhaps. And we're talking about consumption and consumerism, but I don't hear anybody talking about the responsibility of the consumers, the people who are consuming. And we seem to want to put it all on the system and be victims of it without stepping into our own responsibility. So perhaps the socialist and or the capitalist could discuss that. And I'm curious if Charles at some point could maybe expand on his idea of what he may think might be the solution.
Very good. Socialist guys. Anybody want to take anything?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think all of these themes kind of are very synergistic, because ultimately, Charles was kind of alluding to a simulacra, a simulacra that's being created in this culture, as an artificial culture. And part of that is the myth that's being promulgated by these various factions. Fundamentally, we have to look at what is the root of the problem. The root of the problem is concentration of wealth. Too few people have gamed the system, gamed the tax codes, so that the corporations are the biggest recipients of welfare. Walmart, fossil fuels, these are the biggest recipients of welfare right now. And when you look at poor Black and brown communities, we talk about the responsibility of the individual, but if you come up in Compton, districts where they're actually refugees from essentially the Holocaust in the South, like the people in Oakland, the people in Compton are refugees, and those communities were redlined. So we talk about the responsibility of the individual, but it depends on who you are. Because if your parents could afford to put you into college, if you grew up in a place that wasn't a food desert, had access to education, it's like being born on third and you think you hit a triple. And for the majority of Americans, that it just is not the case. So we're looking at creating an equitable system by looking at where's the concentration of power. And those people who have concentrated wealth are able to concentrate power and game the system in their favor. Then essentially the tactic and the strategy is to keep the rest of the 99% divided and fighting over guns and abortion, as I see it.
I'll add one thought to that.
Sure.
As a business owner myself, right, when we're talking about healthcare for your employees, that's a huge expense, right? And that is one of those things where, if we did have an effective system, like I look at my friends in Switzerland who, have socialized everything, and when COVID hit, they were able to get tested, isolate. There was really like an organized system kind of ready to help, right? And I think one thing we're seeing right now, especially with the current climate, is the need for public health, right? Public health systems. It's not just one person's health; it's affecting everybody. I think one thing I'll add is certain social policies help individual interests, right? So like if we have public higher education, college, for example, I think society as a whole would have more wealth, more skills. We'd have higher skilled labor. There's a level of privilege that comes with, access to a college level education, right? For example, like we don't teach financial literacy to sixth graders, right? We teach it, much later in life, and we don't teach people how to pay taxes. That's something you gotta figure out on your own. And I think. Sorry, yeah, like I think that was my only point. Sorry.
Michael, did your question get answered? Do you feel complete?
Do I feel complete? No, but I know that they were probably not necessarily easy questions to answer. From my perspective, think about our bodies as an example. We all got them for free, right? And we want to give healthcare for free to everybody. But do we all take care of our God-given bodies the same way? Will we all access healthcare in the same manner? You know, it parallels your car insurance. You may have a perfect driving record and have no accidents and no tickets, and you're rewarded for that, for a lower premium versus your neighbor who has a new accident every month. Should you be paying the same premium as that person? And I mean, healthcare, I'm in the insurance industry, so I understand the complexities with insurance, especially healthcare. It's not an easy problem to solve. But the lens in which I see the world, regardless of the neighborhood that you were born in, regardless of the country that you were born in, because we talk about healthcare as a right, we talk about having a roof over our heads as a right. Is that if we're born in the US, or is that a worldly right? Because if you're born in Africa, you might not be born with a roof over your head. Are we advocating for those people to the same extent we're advocating it for ourselves here in the US? I don't know. And I'm not saying I believe it's not a right, but I'm thinking we toss that out there like healthcare is a right, housing's a right. But I think people should, when you start to remove things and they're no longer incentivized, or we're no longer incentivized to take ownership and become better. Now, yes, somebody born in Compton might not have, or let's say that the hill to the top might be steeper. I'm definitely open to admitting that, versus somebody who's born in Beverly Hills, so to speak. But I don't know that it's a good thing for us to, I don't even know if it's possible, because where else in nature is it where it's a level playing field across the board? I think we're dealt a situation, and we should have equal access to opportunity, which I think capitalism does provide. And then what you make of that is up to you.
So
Indy, can I jump in?
Yeah, who's that?
It's Shy.
Oh, Shy, yes, please. And also, Charles, really quick, the other question that Michael asked you, save that answer for later. And then after you respond, Shy, let's get another question. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. This is kind of really awesome, because Michael is the one that got me connected with WeDeepen, because he and I we've had a lot of back and forth online on Facebook. So I just want to chime in real quick. This whole discussion is about personal responsibility. Michael points out that people should have this personal responsibility for their bodies, for themselves, for their ability to make income. And he pointed out that that he's also about equal opportunity as well. The problem is that I don't think capitalism allows for equal opportunity. And without equal opportunity, it's very hard for people to have what we perceive as personal responsibility. You've got the big food industry as an example, brainwashing so many to eat the Frosted Flakes all day. They're being bombarded with ads. It's all about the money. It's all about bringing money back up to the big food industry, while everybody's eating the worst possible foods and getting sick. So while we want to say to people, take personal responsibility, there's an immense power, a capitalist power, that's saying, no, we're not going to give you equal opportunity. And therefore, having personal responsibility when the hill to the top, as Michael said, is much, much, much steeper for some, much steeper for some. It's hard for them to even reach personal responsibility. I don't know if that made any sense, but I just wanted to touch on that.
Excellent, Shai. Thank you. And wonderful point. Adam, do you? I hear you're hitting me up and letting me know there's some other great questions.
There are. I mean, I wish I could get to all of you guys. You guys are so awesome. Thanks for hanging in there. I did want to get Alexandros in there because he's made some really great points and he's been very eloquent in there. So I'm going to hand it over to you. Go ahead and unmute yourself and let's hear what you got to say.
Hi everyone. Thank you for organizing this. It's been really interesting hearing some of those points. I did leave a comment for you, Michael, in the chat with respect to rights and obligations. So you want to read that, I think that would be useful for you. I want to jump back all the way to something that I wanted to respond to earlier. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Is it Jupe? Jupp. Okay, cool. So I think Jupp made this comparison between like Norway and the United States, and I think it ended up with a sort of question saying, hey, like these guys basically have some sort of system where you have like a bit of both. Why can't we be like this? Or kind of like there was a sort of comparison with respect to other countries that have a sort of what's called mixed economies. So the point that I didn't want to forget to make is that there's something to be said about like social cohesion and trust between the citizens of a certain country. I pointed a quote out there that everything moves at the speed of trust. And when you have like reforms, if the different citizens don't trust each other, they actually have very difficult time of actually agreeing, and there's a lot of partisanship that's involved. What was funny with respect to the United States, what made it great, was that initially the identity of being American was something that you could use to dump your old identity and then get a new one, unencumbered by the limitations of your previous like European identities or wherever you were coming from. In this new identity called an American that was tied to a constitution. And then in the beginning, a lot of people reading that document were so inspired that they were willing to forego their old identity for a new one. So they were saying, well, I'm an American, with respect to my background. Now, there's this great book called I think The Disunity of America by Arthur Schlesinger Jr. Arthur Schlesinger Jr. The subtitle is A Critique of Multiculturalism. And in it, he says basically that when a certain identity stops being real, people withdraw to other old identities or to new identities. So when, for example, the United States Constitution has all these things about equality, but then it's not treating certain members of societies as equal. That's why we had the civil rights movement, obviously. And then what happens is that the citizens under that state start losing faith in that common identity and then withdrawing and fracturing themselves into like hundreds and hundreds of identities that are more real. So what I'm saying, to not like belabor my time here, is that unless you actually have systems by which people can have common identities and trust between each other, there will never be like the kind of social cooperation that leads to change.
Awesome. Excellent. And I'm ready to do your fight club, bro. Philosophical fight club. Let's go. But first rule is you don't talk about philosophical fight club. All right. So I know about that. So really quick, Adam, I want to make sure before we finish things up, and I want to respect everybody's time, respect Charles' time. And we want to get to like the final 1 minute pieces by all the different debaters. I wanted to make sure that we get some women representing some women out there. Like, are there any questions out there from the women that are listening to this? It'd be great to field a question from some amazing women that are listening to this and their perspective.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see here. Let me pull back through.
I know. I always find that interesting, like how like most of the spaces that economics and politics are taught, like there's not enough women in that space. Like whenever I look at it, it's like we don't hear about theorists, economic theorists, female. We don't like where like I want to read about those.
Yeah. It's like my non-existent girlfriend, right? No, Christina's been nice and active. Christina with a K, not our Christina from WeDeepen. Christina, you've been very active in the chat. Is there anything you'd like to ask or offer to the conversation?
Beep, 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 beep.
Beep, beep, beep.
Any Christina?
Hello, can you hear us?
Yeah, hey.
So I'm with Christina. I'm actually Leah posting as Christina. I'm a fan. No, I really appreciate everything I'm hearing. I'm particularly interested in understanding the balance between personal responsibility, especially as it comes to healthcare, because it's my belief that that can actually affect everybody. It's kind of all in the same way, but all of it is a system where what one person's decisions make about their health can influence what happens with others, right? So I am curious to what is the proper midpoint, where how do people in food deserts who don't have access to functional or holistic doctors or any sort of messaging that they don't have to be dependent on a healthcare system, how does that balance into the fact that so much of our economy is driven by the medical and pharmaceutical field? So I'm particularly curious about that perspective because I feel it affects everybody at the deepest level, their health.
Do you want to pose that question to anybody, or maybe to Charles, or is there any?
I'd love to hear Charles's perspective. Yes.
Okay. I'll do my best with that. That's quite a deep question. I mean, it comes down, I mean, you can get pretty metaphysical, like free will, do we actually have choices? How conditioned are we by our circumstances? And you can feel the resonance of truth in both. You can feel the truth of, if I were in your circumstances, I cannot say that I would do any different than you did. Take me away from my, organic upbringing and put me in, poverty-stricken Appalachia, or put me in the inner city, put me in a place where not only do I not have information or a food culture that gives me the opportunity to choose these things, but I'm so miserable and hopeless that I become addicted to sugar, et cetera, et cetera. Like, can you really say, oh, the reason that person is making those choices and I'm making my good choices is because I'm better than they are? And if I were in the totality of their circumstances, I wouldn't be making those choices. Like, can you really know that of another human being? Like, there's truth in that. And there's also truth that we've all probably felt in a moment of our lives, that actually I can choose. So this is the question: what brings us to that moment of choice? And one thing that brings us to that moment of choice is an evolutionary process in which we grow up against the limits of the paradigm or the beliefs that had contained us before. So if we want, and this is getting, more less into the economic realm, I guess, but that was the question. But I guess it could translate into an economic realm too. Like, how do we create the conditions whereby people become aware of their power to choose? And really what that involves is expanding consciousness. I hope that doesn't sound too new agey, but it won't sound new agey when we really understand what that means. Expanding consciousness means to bring things into awareness that were not there before, which means that nobody is higher or lower in their consciousness. It's just that we are conscious of different things. So to take the matter of food into consideration, people can become conscious of food, of health, in a way that they hadn't been before. And we can then trust, when you have access to this information, and it's not just intellectual information, actually, it's experiences too, then I trust your power to make different choices. And I guess we could also say that this applies to, economic opportunity. Is a theoretical opportunity enough when the place from which somebody says yes or no? I mean, haven't you had those moments where you could not get yourself off the couch?
Yeah, that's like every day.
and someone says, well, you just got to try harder. You just got to choose to get off that couch. You have to stop being depressed. That can seem pretty heartless and not really understanding where you're at. So I guess I would just end with, someone earlier asked, what's my solution? I don't have one. And I wish more people wouldn't have one, because then we would not be so blinded by our beliefs, and we'd be able to see more of reality. That said, I also did write a 400-page book with a lot of solutions in it, but and some of them in fact, most of them I still stand by, but at this moment, I really don't even know if any of those solutions are are the right ones.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And we don't talk about metaphysics. As you can tell, I'm very practical and logical, and I don't ever dive into any sort of metaphysics.
You look pretty square to me. Yeah.
I'm a total square.
Yeah, look at your host and co-host.
And guys, I need to sign off. Actually, I had a very intense day.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Have a blessed evening. Yes. Thank you so much. Be well. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charles.
And with that being said, before we give the closing statements from the four debaters, I noticed that we do have a female. I saw there's a female economist in here. Is there?
Allie Katz.
What? Can we get Allie to like say something? Allie, can you like jump on and you got a minute to share something? I know it's like a really short minute, but please, we can make it a long minute. Will you share your thoughts, perspective, or a question, or maybe just...
Hi. I just actually came on a bit late, and I was bringing my son on to listen because we're looking at some economics together over these past weeks and months, and he's definitely in the conservative camp, and so I'm learning a lot from him because he has a lot of different perspectives than I have at 17, and following a lot of the the conservative teachings that are, allowing me to question my beliefs. And I think, that's really, I think that what Charles can give us the most is this, real possibility that we get to look through different lenses. And that's why I was so glad to see what you all were doing here tonight, so that we can look through these different lenses, because it's the only place that I think that we're going to be able to come to new solutions and really trust each person's ability to choose, starting with our own ability to choose, which I think can really only come from questioning our beliefs and really looking through like anything that, I guess what I would most want is anything that you believe and hold as absolute, see if you can take in the other perspective. And see what else might be there and what we can learn through that.
Love it. Love that. Thank you so much, Allie. And I would imagine, please share, like, if you have any like papers or any books or anything, please share in the chat so that people can see what you've been working on and your ideas. I feel it's so important for us to get a female perspective on all these things. It's like, thank you for Rachel for showing up and being present here. And even the guys here tapping into your feminine. I think it's important. The guy I noticed, Adam, I know you're always tapping into that feminine. So,
Speaking of which, if we have time, our wonderful host herself, Christina from WeDeepen, are you with us? Do you want to ask your question?
I want to throw into the mix, as we're, as Charles said, is, not having solutions. And so in this process of throwing out, not having the correct answer, well, then we get to open up brainstorm for ideas. And one idea that I keep coming to is, like, what if we all as a society, or, in order to, everyone has the right to vote, but maybe you don't all have the right to vote. Maybe that we all choose like 3 to 5 books that we all agree on. Like, instead of sending out the census, we also in the census maybe include like books of choice, and we can agree that everyone should read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that everyone should read the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel, that everyone should read The Mastery of Love. We can choose these books collectively, and then for the President of the United States, like, he has to read like the 8 to 10 books he has to have read that we all as the society, as Americans, have chosen as our curriculum. Like, can we agree on like our values, that the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your relationships? Can we throw that into the mix and start to take, the 4 Agreements? That would be great in the context.
I was gonna throw in there Calvin and Hobbes. Like, you got to read the Calvin Hobbes book.
I was gonna throw in there, it'd be nice if our president read 1 book.
I think he reads Dr. Seuss. So, but the Tao. But thank you. Thank you, Christina. And so let's hit this up. Let's get the final 1 minute spiels from each of from everybody from the teams, and we'll go backwards with this. So let's start with Shai. Let's get your closing statements. What's your takeaway? What should we be focused on? Whatever you want to say, or you can just sing, or you can do whatever in that minute. It's up to all four of you. You can do whatever you want with that minute. So are you ready, Shai?
Yeah, I'm ready. Thank you. I had a whole thing ready for a closing statement, but I threw it away. The thing I'm coming away with is that there is a bit of a consensus from both sides that we all want something in the middle, that we all want a blend. We see that things are fucked up and we want them to get better. And I'm going to use my minute to actually ask the entire audience a question, and you guys can respond by either raising your hand or just typing in the comments the answer to this question, because it's a really important question and I'm curious where we're at on it. Raise your hand or type yes if you know or you're familiar with Citizens United. So by the show of hands so far, I want to share something with you. So we're all talking about getting to, can I get 30 seconds?
Yes.
Okay. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission in 2010 was a landmark decision of the Supreme Court of the United States concerning campaign finance. The court held that the free speech clause of the First Amendment prohibits the government from restricting independent expenditures for political communications by corporations, including nonprofit corporations, labor unions, and other associations. So bottom line is, corporations are not people. But the Supreme Court effectively said that there's no limit to how much money corporations can put into campaigns. Like billions of dollars are being spent to control our society through advertising, through elections. So that's something really important, because if we don't fix that, that's the dis-ease. And everything else is that we've talked about tonight is a symptom.
Awesome. Thank you. And let's switch that over to, let's get it over to Rachel.
All right. I'm dragging on the East Coast right now. It's like 11. I'm just like, oh.
You're a soldier. Thank you. You've really been in there.
New York is a shit show. That's what I'm saying. Basically, my closing statements unrelated to everything is pretty much, we can't really, everything is a damned if you do, damned if you don't at this point, or either side. My favorite thing, I just like, when I decided to be smart in Google Quotes earlier, basically paraphrasing Winston Churchill, saying that pretty much that capitalism itself is sharing in blessings, but also creating that as like a virtue and kind of a puppet thing. And then also, but the problem is with socialism, it is sharing in misery at that point. That's how I think of it, is capitalism is the unfair celebration of blessings, and socialism is the unfair kind of commiseration of everyone. I think we're now kind of in the unfair commiseration at this point in our country, I would like to say. I would say everyone, vote, please vote, everyone, please vote. What else can I say at this? It's been a long day at this point. So basically we don't know anything at this point, and just please get out there and vote and figure it out, what we're doing. Everyone needs to get out, just fix it, figure it out, attempt to fix it.
Yes, Rachel, thank you. And you gotta definitely have some New York pizza for me out there. Okay, please.
Great.
Yes. Okay, we got, let's switch over to Jay.
All right. Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for your, your comments and your thoughts. Yeah, I want to circle back to something that Charles talked about. He talked about the disconnection from community and nature. And this is a function of atomization, which means the breakdown of unions, the breakdown of community organizations, the breakdown of you knowing your neighbors. We have been corralled to just be individuals. And so they put all this responsibility on the individual, but there's no basic societal structure. There's a reason why Amazon is the most profitable company in the world. And in this time, in this crisis, when hopefully some of our more abundant citizens had the means to pull up the rest, that top, the billionaires have made something like $435 billion just during the COVID crisis alone. In my view, there are amazing solutions right now, but it starts with all of us reconnecting with taking care of ourselves. I do believe consciousness is important. Standing Rock, Occupy, these, the World Trade Organization protests, they raised consciousness because most people didn't understand that the wealth has been concentrated at the top, and therefore the power has been concentrated at the top. We have been manipulated to believing we're separate. I have a few minutes to finish. I have another 30 seconds. We've been manipulated every day since you were conscious, since you were a little kid, you have been manipulated. And it is time for us to awaken. We're entering into a new paradigm where we get to lead from bold vision, new ideas. I don't think we should be bound by what two philosophers 200 years ago thought in terms of the solution, not at all. I think we should dream big. And we have incredible ideas like public banking, like blockchain voting, ranked choice voting, single payer healthcare. But we do have to think about our most vulnerable citizens. And above all, in my view, we are facing an existential crisis with the climate apocalypse right now. And if every single individual got the right light bulb and got an electric car, we still wouldn't even be close. We need radical system change. And that means all of us need to get off of the keyboard and start coming together as people to start talking and dreaming about these solutions and how we implement them. So I just want to thank everybody. And also I want to offer, you can download a chapter from my book called The Political Revolutionary's Handbook on jponte.com. There's a chapter you can download on direct action. So I get into a lot more of the solutions.
Please share that in the chat. And Ali, oh my God, dude, don't bring Q in here, okay? I know that was a typo, but everybody's gonna be like, Q. Oh my God,
It's definitely a typo.
Thank you, Jay. All right, so let's finish off with Jup. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah. So I'll just finish with the Mlk quote. We all too often have socialism for the rich and rugged free market capitalism for the poor. I think when we're looking at these words that were, as Jay said, by philosophers 200 years ago, when we think about capitalism, when we think about socialism, Marxism, and we use those as like slurs against like people who might not necessarily agree exactly with us, it just kind of deteriorates the conversation. And I think one thing that I appreciated most about this forum was the fact that we were able to talk about nuance and not just like my side versus their side. I'll add that when we discuss our policies and we look at like where tax revenue is going, we shouldn't also forget that we are a heavily taxed nation, and our money goes towards the military industrial complex. It goes towards agricultural subsidies for overproduction. It goes towards a lot of policies that, if redirected, could benefit society at a much bigger rate. On that note, I will say Rachel gets gone.
Wait, hold on. Wait, what did you say? What did you say?
I was like, Rachel gets gonged all the time, and I was just like, I'm just gonna, we as collective, I feel, robbed in my 30s. I'm just playing. It's great.
Awesome. We're popping up a poll right now. Everybody who's tuning in, even the debaters, you're welcome to jump in here and feel free to hit this poll up. This is great for us to kind of play with this, to think about these ideas. I'm going to take this time to also add my perspective on this, because of, I've been able to work in different spaces. I've worn many hats, worked on Wall Street, been in education, worked in the medical system, worked in the entertainment industry. I must say there's like this interesting consistent thing that I see is that the administration, like most of the time, every industry I've seen, the administration is suffering from like what I like to say mental illness, right? Like I consider when there's like greed, lust, gluttony, like all these, I consider those the beginning points of mental illness. We see mental illness with the people who are deciding things in our lives, right? Like literally all of us, our lives are being decided by people who are suffering from mental illness. Like, so whoa, like maybe we need to address mental illness. It's really important. I want to bring that up. I see that with all kinds of leadership in every industry. And with that being said, maybe nature's a part of it, maybe consciousness, maybe radical compassion, radical service, maybe all these different things are going to be a part of solving these issues. And I love that Charles brought up the perspective of we don't need, no. And like, I love that mystical perspective. For me, that's been a revelation in my life. When every time I access, I don't know. Like, I feel so good. Like when I actually like relish it, when I embrace, I don't know, it feels so good. Even my relationships, I don't know, it feels so good because it's like I can let go of all the expectation. I let go of all the whatever, like the disappointment is gone when I go, I don't know. And so maybe for our economic, socioeconomic, political situation, I don't know. Say it with me, guys. Can you say it with me? I don't know. Adam, can you say it with me? I don't know. That's my meditation. If you guys want to join my cult, it's the I don't know cult. And if anybody asks me, I don't know. What do I do with life? I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know. Cool. Awesome. Thank you guys. Let's look at this. Let's look at the voting over here. We got the voting. We got, oh my God, the love child. Oh my God, you guys, I don't want to see what that looks like when capitalism and socialism is at it. I don't know if I want to see that intercourse, Adam. What do you think that looks like?
Social democracy.
I think it would look better than what we got, hopefully. You know?
I don't know. We'd have to put on some Marvin Gaye or something. What kind of music would they need?
Let's get it on, baby.
Our top.
Capitalism on top. Yeah, socialism probably would take it. I don't know. Oh my gosh! And Jupp is turning over right there. He's like, "Come on, bro. Come on. You got to respect them. You got to respect these guys. All right." These philosophies. So let's I'm gonna respect everybody's time. Thank you guys, all of you that were here, the debaters. You guys are freaking awesome. All you debaters, by the way, keep in mind, you guys get access now to WeDeepen. And so if you guys want to take any meditations, yoga nidras, dance workshops, there's shamanistic dance exercises. There's all kinds. So if you guys, Jay, I know you work hard, so maybe you need a yoga nidra here and there. You got access to it. So just let us know. We'll hook you up with whatever things. All you guys all checking this out. Know there's a bunch of stuff on WeDeepen. So if you guys want to check out any of those things, go on the website. You'll see all kinds of, there's always new things coming up. Adam might be doing something, whatever. We'll see what's going on. And then by the way, we have a after party after this in a virtual space where we walk around and stuff with avatars. So if you guys want to continue the conversation, share more stuff after this, whatever you guys want to eat, dinner, whatever you guys want to do in that space, you're welcome. If you need to go, Jay, or anybody else, if you need to go to sleep, Rachel, do your thing. Christina, do you want to jump in here and wrap up things?
Yeah, totally. This was amazing. Thank you everyone for showing up and being part of the conversation. I'm dropping the after party in the space. There's a link. It's a Kumo space by some VCs, venture capitalists out of New York City. Charge. They have developed this space that looks like their office. So we can step into it, roam around, and have conversations, one-on-one conversations. We can gather in groups and continue the conversation. It's not in VR, but it'll access video and you can walk around. So I'll post that experience and we can jump in there from here. I want to thank everyone for joining. WeDeepen is a relationship company. Oh, the sirens outside. Look, the sirens are crazy today. There's so much in the energy in the air today.
Oh shit, they found out I'm a communist. I got to get out of here, guys. Oh shit. So it's beautiful to gather. You know, I have been studying romantic love for the past like 6-7 years. And if you study healthy relationships and you study love, and then we can take all of those skill sets and we integrate that into humanity, which is the greatest relationship ever to exist. That's what I'm here for. That's what it's about. So check out WeDeepen.com. Join us for more experiences. The next Mind Sports will be Wednesday, September 2nd. So Mind Sports happens the first Wednesday monthly. This is the second one we've done. Last one was Masks, No Masks. Masks won last time. However, people do not want to be in the mask ever. And next month is polyamory versus monogamy. So we're going to jump into that space and have a really juicy conversation next month. So tune in, join us. I think Shai is going to debate on the polyamory team. So let's get a little bit of like fun stuff before we jump over into the election season or deeper into the election season.
Thanks everyone for coming out. My email, c@WeDeepen.com. If you need anything, if you have any ideas for experiences that you want to share with us, we're getting, this is all an experiment now that we've realized. We were an in-person experience company in Los Angeles with a plan to spread out to 46 cities over the next 6 years. And now we are embracing, instead pivoting, so what a startup is, or a company is, it's a living organism. And so we're now a network of online interactive experiences, which means we get to reach many more people and bring many more people into the conversations across all time zones. I think it's super cool that in this room today, we had people in Colorado, Los Angeles, Florida, New York City. I'm in Maryland. So thank you everyone for coming out and joining the room. I'm gonna check out the room, so come over into the room and let's hang out in a Kumo space.
And thank you so much for having us. Thank you for curating the space in this conversation.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Yeah, thanks for showing up, guys. Much appreciated. Have a good night. Be well, sleep well. Laugh a lot at everything. Laugh at everything.
Love you guys. Much love. Much love. Bye.
Adam, good job, man. You were awesome. Is he gone? He's already in the thing? He already went to the after party? Oh, come on, guys. How do you like this song, Christina?